The Park Fire is leaving burned out homes and cars in its path. The conditions as crews try to get this blaze under control. So Cleveland actually needs it, but Toledo has a surplus of over 7 inches. And of course, Cedar Point right here in the middle of Ohio. So you've got the haves and the have-nots. But basically what we have across much of the Midwest is sunshine from Minneapolis to Chicago, down to Sioux Falls, Sioux City as well. We do start to see development of storms, though, especially in the Dakotas and down into Nebraska. It's possible we see a couple of isolated showers. As we get into the weekend, though, that moisture will be increasing. We'll see more cloud cover and therefore the ability to get some of these heavier downpours in the northwestern section of Minnesota. So that's where we have that severe threat for tomorrow. Red on the map means it's possible we see some damaging winds, possibly some hail, and especially northeastern North Dakota, northwestern Minnesota. Holding on to the beautiful weather, although it's going to be hot here. Chicago getting up to 87 for your White Sox game at home tomorrow. We've got plenty of moisture that's going to come in ahead of a cold front, and that cold front will be in play as we go into the day Sunday, and therefore the chance to get more showers and storms that could pack a punch, possibly knock down some tree limbs, bend over some trees. You could lose your power. There's a look at that marginal threat of severe weather from North Dakota, Minnesota, all the way down here towards Omaha and Des Moines. So let's time it out now, starting Saturday and into Sunday. That's when we start to see some of that moisture increasing. You see the showers and storms from the Quad Cities up to Madison, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Chicago. Cold front coming through. So it's not just our weekend plans, but possibly affecting some of your trips in and out of work here, possibly delays at some of these airports as we see up to an inch of rain in most locations. Steph?
Beautiful day in Beantown. I was just like thinking I want to be like, yes, yes, yes. And I thought about that GIF that you can send, and there's some like wrestler guy, he's like, yes, yes, yes. What is that? Is it? And it has like, yes, yes, yes. That's how I feel about this weather into Boston and really into the entire Northeast. Finally, we're going to get the sunshine. If you're headed to Cape Cod, Nantucket, the rain has moved out and we have got the sunshine. So let's talk about the weather here in the Northeast, because it's going to stay nice through the weekend. And then my producers are just, I don't know what they're doing, showing you the bad weather that comes back next week. I'm like, forget next week. We got sunshine for the next 3 days. Right, so that they do want to show you when the rain is going to come back in, unfortunately, for the start of the week. At least it's for the start of the week and not over the weekend. It's like Mother Nature, finally you got your timing right. Timing is everything in life, isn't it? We've been talking about energy that is swinging through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. And remember I was showing you at the top of the show the jet that was bringing that moisture all the way from the Pacific? There is a sharp cutoff here from the Mid-Atlantic northbound. You can see the clouds, sharp cutoff. Philly, you have some clouds, DC, but New York, Boston, I mean, you saw how beautiful it was in Boston. That's what it looks like for all of our tower cams here into the Northeast, and will continue to look like. Look at our temperatures too. Oh, just so beautiful out here. For this time of year, it could be a lot worse. Dew point temperatures have lowered. They're not as juicy. You don't feel like you're walking through pudding anymore here in the Northeast. We still are in the South, but not in the Northeast and the Great Lakes. Absolutely phenomenal weekend. This is what we live for, are these types of weekends. And look at tomorrow. A little bit warm as we head down towards DC at 90 degrees, but I mean, the upper 70s, lower 80s, you know, that's in the shade. So in the direct sunlight, it's 10 degrees hotter than that. So it is like literally the perfect weekend. But then as we get into our next week, that's when the showers are going to move back in. And I know we still have a month of summer left, and you're like, Steph, we just want hype. We want weather like that all through August. Can you order that up? There is a special phone here at the Weather Channel, but I'm not allowed to pick it up and make the call for the rest of the summer. It's very special and secretive.
You don't have like that red phone where it's like the direct
you haven't been taught about that phone
Surely
yet?
A week ago today is when we had that big outage. I know they're still trying to make up for some of those canceled flights and delays. As far as the weather's concerned, so far so good. No delays to report to you from California to New York and all the way down south into Atlanta, of course, the busiest airport. But we do have that chance of showers and storms kind of scattered across the south, especially watching Houston, New Orleans, even Charlotte could see a delay or two depending on where the storm set up. up. And watch all the hubs in Florida, really, not just Tampa. St. Louis, though, looking like a decent flying day. Let's kick things off in Texas, though. If you are driving, I'd be very, very careful. We've already had some flooding issues in Galveston, Texas this morning, where it's a considerable threat by the National Weather Service. We picked up several inches of rain already, more to come, and that's why we've got this flood watch in effect for portions of Louisiana and eastern Texas as well. So a watch means it's favorable for flooding. A warning means you need to take action and maybe not take action in terms of driving, right? Maybe kind of wait out the storms. Flash flooding will be a possibility. And where you have the lightning, that really helps to accentuate those rainfall rates. And we see a lot of rain in a short period of time, as we've been seeing in Galveston, Texas, where we do have that considerable flash flood warning. We zoom in on that. There's Houston, by the way, some storms developing right over the downtown, but this flash flood warning is a considerable threat and does go until 7:45 local time. So if I were you, I'd stay off the roads right now in Galveston. Look at all the yellow, the orange, 3 to 5 inches at least. Where we need the rain in the Carolinas, we could get too much, and that's why we've got flood watches from Wilmington right on down towards Myrtle Beach. All right, Jordan, the tropics have been nice and quiet. We want it to stay that way, though.
Well, I mean,
I've seen flooding like this in other parts of the South this week from those heavy downpours. Now, of course, we are kind of worried about the fact that Houston's gotten so much rain, and we have the potential for a tropical system to come as we go throughout the next several months. We got 2 areas to watch. Bud, of course, is barely a tropical storm with our winds at 40 miles an hour moving west-northwest. And we're not too worried about Bud because it's just going to go boop. And you can see the winds aren't really going to do much of anything. That cooler water is not going to help the situation. Carlotta is the next name on the storm here for the East Pack. How about the Atlantic? Of course, we've gotten through Chris. Our next name is Debbie on the list. And what I will tell you is that we typically have a longer amount of days in between named systems when you're starting off the season. That makes sense, right? Because you have less storms. But as we get into August, September, October, notice the numbers drop. That means there are fewer days between systems. So that means that things are going to start ramping up. And we expect that to happen because there's been a lot of shear, a lot of subsidence in the Atlantic, and a lot of Saharan dust. Well, guess what? We're getting out of SAL season, as we call it, Saharan air layer. We expect that shear to lighten up. And we expect the subsidence pushing everything down to turn into lift. And that has to do with different weather systems all around the world moving around and doing certain things. But notice we have had waves coming off the coast here of Africa. They just haven't been able to develop because of the Saharan air and that shear that we've had and all the subsidence. What you need is moisture, warm water. Favorable winds are going to get more favorable, and we have that spin in the atmosphere. In August, things really ramp up. This is everywhere a storm has been named, as we go back 50 years. But Kelly, we still have 92% of the season remaining.
Yeah, including the peak right there in September. Yes. Let's get you out the door in the Midwest, a place like Chicago, where the White Sox are at